Moving to just chatting.
Okay, now? When did the input change? It didn't change. It just decided it didn't want to participate. That's fine. My microphone is the default device, but it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. OBS doesn't care. Alright, fine. It's kind of annoying. Anyway, here we are. Here we are. Here we are. I don't have a plan. And I actually didn't close my door properly, so 1 second. Alright, that should do the trick. Yeah, I don't have a plan. I don't have a plan. I've been working hard on stuff. And I had to work hard on art for stream, but we're not there yet. We are not there yet. So I don't know. I think I'm supposed to also have a plan for other stuff. I'm supposed to have a plan for stream for what I'm doing. I'm supposed to have plans in general. I don't have any plans. But I guess before we do that, let me just kind of go through the list of things that are happening, right? We'll do, we can do blast radius. Blast radius is easy. Vulture, toggle blast radius. All right, this one's easy. Runa's playing Borderlands. Okay. So, Runa's playing Borderlands. You guys can check her out. Otherwise, people are doing their things. All normal stuff. Miss Mako is also playing Borderlands. And then Miss Maka, a different person, is doing her 24-hour birthday 24-hour stream thingy. So Maka's doing Maka things. You should check out all these people. But definitely check out Maka. It is her birthday. So definitely please, go observe Mako with your eyeballs, because I'm really asking nicely, and it is her birthday. So do it because I'm asking you to do that. And that would be cool of you to do that, to support someone. That's all I got, honestly. Vulture, toggle blast radius. Alright, cool. I got nothing else. I should have a plan. I'll be honest, usually I'm fine to just play like a game, any game, right? I usually have the brain cells for it. But I've been waking up very early. I've been waking up very, very early lately. So I'm normally asleep right now. That's been the vibe. Is normally I'm asleep at this time. Normally I am like just in bed, totally asleep. Deep asleep right now. So I am feeling very ready to fall asleep already. And I was working until like almost 8 p.m. On stuff. So I have no plan. Let me just glance through Steam. So obviously we have a list of things that we should do. Oh, I can mark Symphonia as completed now. We completed the game. Add to completed. Uninstall. Done. Done. We're not going back to that one. So we need to play Colony Ship. Obviously, Colony Ship is on the list, and Divinity Original Sin 2 is on the list. Those are two things that are on the list. But I think both of those games require me to use my brain. And I don't know if I can use my brain enough. Which is the secondary problem is the kind of games that I would default to in the background. Oh, I don't want to play this. What will I play instead? Oh, I'll play Gordian Quest. I'll play Chrono Arc. I'll play, like, you know, that's not exactly going to be easy without a brain either. And then my third backup would be like, oh yeah, I'll do art. I'll do like some art or creative thing. But I've been banging my head against that all day. So that plan is also not happening. And thus we're just here, vibing, with no plan at all. I have no plan. I should have a plan. Normally I have a plan. Normally I have some idea of a plan. I also burned through all my backup games too. I mean, I have other games, but We Know the Devil? Done. This game will end in 205 clicks? Done. All done. So... so... I'm left with confusion. And a desire to sleep. A desire to sleep. Oh my god, I'm like ready to fall asleep right now. Oh no, oh no. I'm like, I might fall asleep right now. I haven't been this sleepy on stream in a while. You guys know one time I actually fell asleep on stream? Just straight up. Straight up. I think there's a video of it somewhere. And you can actually see me, like, just nodding off repeatedly and just going totally silent for 3 minutes, opening my eyes as if nothing happened, and then continuing the sentence I was speaking before. It's kind of scary. I don't think it's easy to find, though. It's on my old account, so we're not, you know, should not be easy to find. Honestly, we could start something new. It's a similar vibe, right? It's like, I don't really want to start Frontiers either. Frontiers requires me to use my brain a little bit, because the Frontiers DLC is 3 different characters, and I remember struggling to understand what was going on with Amy's tarot cards. I'm just struggling a little bit right now. I could learn Guilty Gear Strive. That seems like a low brain cell activity. Is that rude to say? That might be rude to say. I did uninstall Marvel Rivals, so now I have space on my computer. I'm free from Marvel Rivals. Kind of free. A little free. Let me empty my recycle bin. See what this does for me. Nothing, of course. Why would I do anything? Honestly, I want to talk about something. I want to chat about something. So let me change the music to something I can think through. Yeah. Let me switch it up. I'll switch it up. Let's switch it up. I'm mumbling a little bit. I'm a little mumbly. Okay, I got a little bit of mush mouth. And a little bit of that is just because I'm so darn tired. You know. That is just kind of the nature of being so darn tired. You get a little bit of the mush mouth, and it's a little hard to enunciate everything perfectly well, so I hope you guys will forgive me. I want to talk about recommended graphic setting. Yes. I think that's what I want to talk about. And this is about Borderlands 4. Right, this is about Borderlands 4. And what I'll call a reasonable expectation. Okay. So I bought my PC, this one. 2.5 to 3 years ago. Late 2022. And I bought it, so 2023, almost 3 years ago, right? Like somewhere between 2.5 and 3 years ago. And I paid like $1,000 for it. I got a 3060. I have a 3060 RTX in this computer. And 16 gigabytes of RAM, which I upgraded to 32 gigabytes of RAM, which is all the motherboard can handle. This is a very middle-of-the-road PC. It is not a bad computer by any stretch of the imagination. I mean, it's $1,000 I threw on it, right? It's not the best of all time, right? But it gets the job done. It renders my 3D models just fine. I can use it for Blender and big poly objects, and I can stream on it and play games. All that good stuff, okay? All that good stuff. I do not meet the recommended settings for Borderlands 4. Which is, by the way, why I'm not playing Borderlands 4. For a few reasons, but this is one of the big reasons, is never mind streaming the game, I cannot play the game. I cannot support those requirements. The minimum requirements are 16 gigabytes of RAM. I probably meet the minimum requirements. I think I meet the minimum requirements, but I don't meet the recommended requirements. And I think there's something to be said about... Hello, Faultier. Hello. You are sad crying because of your computer situation or because of Borderlands or what? Let me see. I did message you in your server recently. Nah, okay. Yeah. But hello. Also, if you guys don't know Faultier, you should become a knower. You should become a knower of Mr. Faultier VT. And I'm gonna say that you should learn to become a knower. Although I doubt anyone doesn't know. I'm also having computer route troubles. I'm not really having computer troubles so much as I'm just like, I'm baffled by the requirements for Borderlands 4. I didn't buy the game. When the game showed up for pre-order or just on the Steam store, I looked through the requirements and I said, nope, I can't play that. There's just no way. There's no way I can afford that. Even without a... Yeah, even without streaming. And it's a little peculiar to me. I experienced a similar issue with Black Myth Wukong last year. Although now I have 32 gigs of RAM, and I did not have 32 gigs of RAM at that time, so I might actually be able to play Black Myth Wukong, and I want to try that again. But 32 gig. Actually, this is. I'm really curious. I own Black Myth Wukong. I want to see what the requirements are, because I was really looking forward to Black Myth, like a lot. I was looking forward to it a lot. Let me see. Yeah, recommended 16 gigabytes of RAM and a 2060. So I should be able to do it now. Honestly, yeah. Should be totally doable now that I have 32 gigs of RAM. But here's one point. I bought this computer 2.5 years ago as a middle of the road PC. It does the job just fine, and I upgraded to have 32 gigs of RAM, and 32 gigs of RAM is the maximum I can have. I cannot get more than this because the motherboard doesn't support more than this. Okay, I could buy more, but it wouldn't matter. The requirements for Borderlands 4 are extravagant. I think that they're extravagant. And I think it's a little silly to basically say you need like the latest thing from like 6 months ago, right? The graphics card from 6 months ago. That's what you need to run the game. That's a big ask. Now that's not what's in the recommended settings, but that's what people are seemingly experiencing. I think here's what I read. I read that the 3080 is equivalent to essentially something that came out 6 months ago. And so you are more or less asking for something that came out 6 months ago. I don't know exactly. I'm not really very good at hardware, to be honest. I'm actually not quite good at it at all. But I think asking for 32 gigs of RAM, even ignoring the graphics card, asking for 32 gigs of RAM is nuts. I think that's nuts. I think that's totally insane. If I go look up right now, like HP gaming PC, okay? I'm gonna do that right now. HP gaming PC, okay? And I'll pick this Omen gaming desktop from Best Buy. That's typically apparently $1,600. Vulture, open browser. All right, so here it is. It has a 5060. Okay. This thing has 16 gigabytes of RAM. Okay? This thing is a $1,600 machine. It has 16 gigs of RAM. This does not meet the requirements. Imagine being like, 20 and being like, or like, okay, imagine being like 17 or 16, right? And being like, hey mom, hey dad, like, I worked really hard this year. I've been super good. I got straight A's, and we talked about getting a new PC. How about this one, right? Like, and I know it's really expensive, but like I'm really grateful to you guys. Blah blah blah, like the whole deal, right? And your parents are like, yeah, that's great. Definitely, we'll help you out. And you get this PC, and it's $1,600 fucking dollars, okay? Like it's $1,600 bloody dollars. And you can't play Borderlands fucking 4 on it. Like, are we kidding right now? Are you joking? Like, that's where we're at? Vulture, close browser. So I have to wait before I ask. Vulture, close browser. Can you Vulture, close browser. Thank you. A lot of the pricing for these gaming PCs seems to be a bit of fluff. Yeah, I didn't buy like I didn't spend this kind of money. I think I spent, like, with discounts, I spent like $800, $850. And I bought quote unquote a gaming PC, but I like prioritized the CPU and GPU in a way that I could do 3D rendering stuff. I think if you build your own, you're probably better off if you're like willing to do that. There are plenty of subreddits, but I was just like, I don't have the time for this. I don't have the money for this. Like, I don't have the brain space for this. I'm just gonna throw money at the problem. Whatever, deal with it for me. And if the shit doesn't work, I can throw it back at you, and you have to fix the problem for me. You have to do it. Also, hello, Poop Fart. You paid $9,000 for your PC, hoping to never need to buy another one again. Well, here we are. Oh. Okay, Cammy. I didn't think people would actually recommend that one. Hi, honey. All right, well, okay. All right, there we go. So anyway, I'm gonna once I'm no longer red in the face, I can think about something else. I hope that was worth it. Yeah. All right. Give me a second. Where was it being shipped from? The surface of the moon? Yeah, that's crazy. That is insane. Okay, well, I mean, the redeem is there, I guess, to fluster me anyway. So your money is well worth it. Your points. 9,000 is a lot. If you're willing to build your own, I think things are solid. But at the same time, like 32 gigs of RAM is a big ask. I think 32 gigs of RAM is a big ask for what should be an accessible game. Like it's Borderlands 4, dude. It's not like Crysis. Is not like Crysis 5, you know. I'm not like booting up Microsoft like air aviation like simulator, you know? Also hello gang. Hi everyone. I'm not booting that up, right? I'm not booting up like Google Earth walking simulator, but in real time, rendered in like 480p, not 480p, 4K, 4K. Um, wow. Uh, so I think I'm of two minds on this. One, if you don't meet the minimum requirements for the game or the recommended requirements for the game, and you bitch that the game isn't running right, that's kind of on you, right? That's a little bit on you. And I think there are definitely people in the reviews for Borderlands 4 that don't meet those requirements. Because the requirements are fucking insane a little bit, you know? They're a little ridiculous. So there's my other of two minds about it. Maybe you should make an accessible game. Like we're engaging in the Monster Hunter Wilds problem all over again, where the product is demanding. Some people might call it unoptimized dog shit, but I don't know enough to say that. So I'll just say other people. I'll engage in hearsay. Other people may have said that it's unoptimized dog shit. And I think some of that probably comes from the reputation of like Unreal Engine 5. But I know it's possible. Okay, I know it's possible to get these games optimized. I'm going to bring up the example of Crosswords. Also, sorry, Cammy, how many points do you have left? I have to know right now. How long were you saving for that? That one's an expensive one. Sonic Crossworlds is very well optimized. Okay, it runs around 20k left or wow. Okay, yeah. So Sonic Crossworlds is apparently pretty well optimized. It runs apparently smooth, very smooth on the Switch. These are all good signs. So, like it's possible. It's possible. And my buddy apparently has bought Borderlands 4 for I think his PS5. Is that what he said to me? He said he has it for his PS5. What did he say? He has it on PS5, yes. So I guess I'll see how it feels for him. I'm curious because a lot of optimizations are sometimes just around like supporting certain consoles. It has to run on the Switch. It has to run on this. It has to run on that. So therefore, it has to be optimized to a certain degree. And it's interesting to see. I actually enjoyed seeing the Crossroads actually has different download size for console versus PC, which again I imagine is in part because of like textures and stuff, right? And what you can get away with. I think I recently remember hearing about gosh, what was it? Was it Helldivers? There was some game where they like got rid of 100 gigs of fluff for crap or something. It wasn't Helldivers. I think Helldivers textures are apparently overdone to hell or something. I think people are too dependent on Moore's Law, perhaps. Maybe they're too dependent on storage space. Maybe I need to point at them and go, hey, stop that. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it. Stop. Stop it. And maybe I'm going to make that statement on this basis, okay? On this basis that look, organizing games by file size, okay? Size on disk. What? Oh, sorry, this is the wrong one. Let me redo this. Not this. All games, size on disk. Okay? Borderlands 3, 126 gigabytes. Where is my GOAT Divinity Original Sin 2? Where is it? What? 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 Oh, here it is. Yes. Okay, so DOS2, 63 gigabytes. Did I uninstall Baldur's Gate 3? I did. Baldur's Gate 3, 150 gigabytes. That would make it the biggest game in my library. For good reason. Which is why I uninstalled it. Okay. And Baldur's Gate 3 is a big fucking game. It is a big game. I just like, I don't know, man. Sonic Frontiers is 38 gigs. You know? Like, it's that's not a small game either. Now it's not a huge game, right? But like that's what I would expect. Sonic Frontiers, 40 gigs. It has 4 to 5 world zones plus the DLC. Sure, it's like, yeah, okay. Like 40 gigs, fine. I don't know. I think there's some bloat. Just general bloat. I think now that people feel that there is infinite memory, because at a certain point, computing stopped being a problem about memory, and it started being a problem about computation size, right? Computational speed. People are just comfortable with like big games. And okay, so I don't know how much you guys know about RAM and swap size and all of this kind of stuff. So I guess I'll quickly cover it. Most of your favorite games are 15 gigs or smaller. Yeah, that makes sense. And so here's the vibe, okay? Here's the vibe. First of all, not everyone has an SSD. I have one. I don't put my games on it. My SSD is for putting only the most important programs on and my operating system so that my computer boot fast. Computer boot fast and like important program boot fast. Okay? That's what it's there for. It's like 1/4 of a terabyte. Right? So yeah, fine. And then I have a 1 terabyte. No, I have 2 terabytes of hard drive space, HDD. Okay. When game load from memory, game load into quick access memory. Okay. And so if your game textures are fucking chonky, all right, and your game like texture is 19 gigs, your game texture is not going to load in until all 19 of those fucking gigs are in your short-term memory for your computer. More or less, that's how it goes. So having optimized textures is really important, right? That's a big reason why, by the way, nowadays we have this. You guys might have seen it in some games, pre-compiled shaders, right? They'll do the shader compilation early, so that you don't have to do that compilation during the game itself. And so your computer will spin up, right? You launch Marvel Rivals, or you launch whatever game, and your CPU goes fucking wild for like 2 minutes because it's trying to process all of that and prepare smaller, more optimized versions of like fully compiled things rather than loading it on the fly for you, right? So there is a trade-off, right? But there was a period of time back in the old days where you would have to think about algorithms not just in terms of computational complexity and speed, but also memory used. Really, really early on, right? That was a big question: is how much memory is there? I don't know if you guys know what an algorithm is. An algorithm is essentially a sequence of steps that you take to solve a problem, right? So where is my? Here it is. Right. Here is my drawing glove. Here is my quick explanation of what an algorithm is. Okay, here's how an algorithm works. Here. So again, an algorithm series of steps, right? So let's say you have X and Y in these two boxes. That's the bad place to put them because of the background. I'll put them over here instead. Right, you have X and you have Y in these two boxes. So what does it take to swap these two items? Okay, what it takes is you have another box, right? You put X in here, you put Y over here, and then you put X in this box. So you need basically one extra thing of space, right? One of space, and the steps are X to temp, right? Y to X, and then X to like the old Y, right? And this is quote unquote pseudocode for your algorithm, right? So how much space did it take? It takes one extra space. Okay. How much time did it take? It's one. It's essentially one because you're switching just one item. And there are rules and laws and estimations around upper bounds and lower bounds for how long something can take, depending on how many things you're doing. For example, if I have a list of 60 numbers, right? How long does it take me to sort a list of 60 numbers, or 100 numbers, or 900 numbers, right? The algorithm is dependent on the size of the list that you're sorting, the number of numbers that you're sorting and fixing. And for time, the algorithm was also relevant of, okay, let's say you have to do it in place, okay? Let's say you're not allowed any additional memory for some reason, because memory is tight, all right? So all you have are, brush, okay? All you have are the, like, boxes that you have, you know, your numbers in. You're not allowed to make new boxes. So how long does that take, right? Compared to, oh, well, you can make new boxes, right? This is sort in place versus, you know, not doing that. So what I've observed, being a computer scientist by trade and talking to people in the industry and reading books and all that stuff, is that the question of how much memory does something take has become less important over time, because memory has become, quote unquote, increasingly free. We are reaching a point at which it is not increasingly free. People can't be as haphazard anymore, right? And you can't just throw out a 300 gigabyte game and be like, oh, it's fine, it's okay, no problem. No, it's not. It's not no problem. It's not actually no problem. Yes, your algorithm needs to be good because you do want your game to not crash when you spawn in 1900 objects, right? But you also want your game to not crash because you had to load 12 gigabytes of data when loading into a new map. Like that's just not gonna work for some people, right? So that's the vibe, right? And I think that many games nowadays are not really dealing with that well. By the way, this is why loading screens exist as well, incidentally, right? Because your computer does not, or your console, does not hold all of that information in its short-term memory, I guess is what I'm calling it for now, in a short-term memory at all times. Because the advantage of short-term memory, here's another one, right? I guess another quick explanation, okay? Another quick explanation. Looking at you, Sonic 06? Yeah, looking at you, Sonic 06, exactly. This is generally true. What is this email, Cammy? Notes? Yeah. Okay. This is, we'll call memory, right? Memory. As it gets cheaper, it's also slower. All right, so your like HDDs are over here. You have your SDDs over here. You have RAM. You have God, is it your swap? This is where I start to get fuzzy, and I lose the plot a little bit. But like your really like small memory is here, right? Stuff in your motherboard, stuff that you swap out very fast, very fast, right? And generally speaking, this is why you can get lots and lots of big memory, like HDD, for cheaper, right? But getting RAM sticks is more expensive, right? Getting stuff that's meant for fast swaps is more expensive, and the faster it is, the more expensive it gets, right? So to play a game, right, you essentially need all of that in quick access, right? And so generally it has to move off of the HDD into the RAM or faster to be accessible to you in a reasonable amount of time, right? This is a lot of me talking, right? I think, so again, I am of two minds, right? On one hand, if the game says you can't play it without these requirements, and you buy it and you can't play it, that's kind of on you, right? I think you just shouldn't have bought it in the first place. I think that's the best way to make your point, is, yeah, man, the game doesn't work. I can't buy the game. You have not made a game that I or 90% of people can play. It's not a matter of me paying $70 or $80 for your game. I can't play your game. The people with the potato computer are more likely to not know any better. Yes, I think that's true, and I think that that's their fault. I think that if you're going to have a PC and a gaming PC of any standard, or you're going to play games, and you're going to comment like you know something, maybe you should educate yourself a little bit, right? Maybe you should read the minimum specs on the game you're playing. And so I kind of want to discount those people. I want to discount people who don't meet the minimum specs, right? I think people who meet the minimum specs but don't meet the recommended specs, I do want to hear what they have to say. I do want to hear what they have to say. But I think it's very reasonable to go, dude, you're on a potato PC, and this is a new gen game. Sorry. But those people just shouldn't buy the game. they should refund it. And frankly, once you realize, right, once you play the game and you're like, oh shit, it doesn't work, you should refund the game. You should refund the game almost immediately, and then go get your money back. Is the RTX sweater better than the Nvidia whatever? That's fair. I think that's fair. That's a fair statement, Poofart. I can see where you're going with that one. To some degree, if I look at, I'll go back to looking at Black Myth, right? I'll look at Black Myth, which again I really do want to play. I actually really liked the premise. Here are the glorious system requirements. Vulture, move us to main, please.
Moving to main scene.
All right. Here are the glorious system requirements. I don't know if you guys can read this. Black Myth. Black Myth. Wukong, Black Myth. Yeah. I think probably the key items right on this are, here, I'll use my pen tool. This one. This one. This one. And to some degree the processor as well. All right, this one too. This one I have a really hard time with. But I think looking at these, you can probably get a sense for where you're at. It is, I think this one's hard to parse, and I think is an RTX or so-and-so better or worse than a so-and-so? Definitely fair. Definitely fair. I see where that is coming from, absolutely. But if you're sitting on 8 gigabytes of RAM, you know, you shouldn't walk into this one being like, oh my god, it's not working. Dude, you know you have 8 gigabytes of RAM. You know it. Press Control Shift Escape on your computer, okay? And then just go to performance, and you can see how much RAM you have. You should know. That's just part of being a responsible consumer. And hands up in the air, right? But again, holy shit! Like, how do you expect someone to have 32 gigs of RAM? How do you expect that to be normal, right? I think that's kind of where the buck stops a little bit. Is I wish that people didn't buy the game. Vulture, move us to main, please. Nope, we're on main. Vulture, move us to speaking, please.
Moving to just chatting.
There we go. 32 gigabytes of RAM is cheaper than ever. Yeah, but computers don't come with 32 gigabytes of RAM. That's not what a computer comes with. We just looked at a $1,600 computer. It doesn't come with 32 gigs of RAM. It comes with 16, right? I don't think I need to buy a top-end computer to play Borderlands fucking 4. That's a crazy ask. And I think it's a crazy ask because the people who played your stupid games 1, 2, 3, and pre-sequel, they did not have the beefy computer to play those games. You didn't need it. Right? Like, if this was Crysis 3, we would have a different conversation. You know? We would have a totally different conversation if it was Crysis 3. Because the people who are playing, like, Crysis on Ultra, they already kind of know what they're getting into. But this is Borderlands, which should have been accessible. I think that's where my grief is coming from. Is I just think it's unreasonable. I think the expectations are unreasonable. And so as much as I want to dog on people who buy a game that they can't play in hopes of playing it, I also want to dog on Mr. 32 gigabytes recommended requirements over here. Like, get a 3080. Like, are you out of your mind, dude? Are you out of your fucking mind? Let me go look at a recent game that's come out, okay? Let me go look at something else. Let's go have a look. Not keep digging. Not that one. What's a big one that's been top sellers, okay? Battlefield, right? Isn't the new Battlefield coming out? Battlefield 6? Yeah, Battlefield 6. What are the requirements for Battlefield 6? My brother in Christ, Battlefield 6 recommended settings are 16 gigabytes of RAM and a 3060 Ti. Now, a 3060 Ti is better than what I have. Don't get me wrong. But like, you're telling me that Battlefield 6 is a game that will run better on my PC than Borderlands fucking 4? You spent too much processing power on explosive grenades? Like, what the fuck is happening? Now Battlefield 6 has its own problems. Don't get me wrong. The anti-cheat, and all that, for sure. But still. Also, I did read your comment, Faultier, about having similar specs. Yep. Secure boot. Yeah. So I have some mixed thoughts on this. It's tough. It's tough. I want to play this game, but it's in my list of games that I just can't play. Because it makes my computer overheat. I actually have Watch Dogs 2, which I have a total of 4 minutes on in 2018 because I couldn't play it at that time. I'm pretty sure I meet the requirements now for Watch Dogs 2. Oh yeah, I do. So we should play Watch Dogs 2. Borderlands has that liney art style anyway. How back at the worst graphic settings look? Yeah, that's kind of my point. Right? Like, with a game like that, you can get away with lower textures. You should get away with it. And I have been peeking on Miss Runa playing the game. Like, this is fine. You can do it. I don't know. Metal Gear Solid 5. Is this a Delta or? I assume you're talking about Delta, the new one that came out, right?
That's him.
Oh no, we're talking about Phantom Pain. Are we talking about Phantom Pain? Came out in 2015? I assume we're not talking about that. There's also Ground Zeroes, but that was also, in 2014. I'm going to assume you're talking about Metal Gear Solid Delta, Snake Eater. Oh, Phantom Pain. Actually, Phantom Pain. Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, Phantom Pain can run 8 gigabytes of RAM, runs on a GTX 760. So, yeah. Recommended. Minimum requirements, 4 gigabytes of RAM, runs on a GTX 650, 2 gigabytes. And I think some of that comes from some of these games being like console and PC releases, right? That's my feeling a little bit. But I don't know. I don't know. I'm not sure. I don't know. It's kind of a mess. It is kind of a mess. um yeah. I'm actually curious. I want to check out the Monster Hunter Wilds requirements. Because that was another one. Recent reviews mostly negative. I wonder why. So Monster Hunter Wilds, 16 gigabytes of RAM, and an RTX 2060. RTX 2060 Super with 8 gigabytes of VRAM, or a AMD RX 6600, again 8 gigabytes of VRAM, but optimized terribly, to my understanding. And I think that's fundamentally a different problem. But here's my understanding of how Borderlands is going. For people who can play it, it's a bop. Hello, Lampenstein. For people who can play Borderlands 4, it's a bop. But everyone else is experiencing glitching, crashing, bugs, all sorts of other fun stuff, including, and I found this one to be the most egregious, is when you close the game, the instance doesn't close, and you just have it sitting there eating up RAM. That's a mistake I forgave with We Know the Devil. Okay, We Know the Devil had a weird bug where it would simply spawn more background versions of We Know the Devil that I couldn't get rid of until I shut down my PC. That was weird. It was weird. But We Know the Devil is like a small baby game made by small baby indie devs, right? That's super forgivable for those guys. It is so not forgivable for Gearbox. What the fuck? Like, and exactly to Faultier's point here, what I don't understand though is what are developers thinking lately with having the highest specs for the game? How do you actually expect to make PC sales if only 25% of PC owners can even play the game? Yes. And I wish that people would kind of vote with their wallets a little more. I'm curious about Silksong. Shall we check out Silksong? All right. Silksong. 8 gigabytes of RAM recommended. A GTX 1050, 2 gigabytes is all you need. Like, that's a game that you don't need a big PC for. What game engine is Borderlands 4 running on? Apparently UE5. Borderlands 4 engine? To my understanding, UE5. Yeah, it's UE5. So, I think UE5 gets a bad rep. Because I think it's entirely possible to build good games in UE5 that are not like slop. But the problem is if you don't know what you're doing, right? Every time that a game comes out that's unoptimized in UE5, it's like it's UE5's fault. Like, you're the stupid idiot for building in UE5. And it's like, no, you're not the stupid idiot for building in UE5. You're the stupid idiot for not optimizing your game. Like, that's you. That's on you, right? You're a big fucking company. Just dial up UE5, right? You're fucking Gearbox. Dial it up and be like, bros, I need some help. It's weird. Can I pay you for like a week of your time? Just send me one of your guys. You guys think that's crazy, but like that's a thing that you can do. We had when I was working, we had not in a game company, but as a vendor for something, right? We had a dedicated guy. We could be like, hey, so and so guy that is, leasing us a service that we're using. We need your help. Something's not working, so get on this call. Yeah, to be fair to the super large gaming company, they probably don't have the budget for something like that. I don't know. I think UE5 gets a bad rep. I think people are just too comfortable with like overpacking things, you know. Like I'm curious about other games. Let me look at like Monster Train 2. All right, Monster Train 2. Surprised it wants 16 gigabytes of RAM. That's surprising to me. Recommended. Minimum is 8 gigs. But the graphics do not surprise me. A 1080 GTX. Yep, that's right. I mean, it's not about it lagging, it's about crashing, right? And I don't think that's a good mindset to have personally, because I think that that's like part of what leads to this sort of like line of thinking. Oh, it doesn't really matter because it's a single player game, right? So Silksong is a single player game. Metal Gear Solid is a single player game, so who cares? It's fine. Like there's no consequences. It's like not a big deal. It's not like a competitive PvP game. The scale slides. That's my take. All right, Metal Gear Solid Delta. Let's see. Yep, RTX 3080, 16 gigs of RAM is the recommended. People are cribbing about essentially it being more of a remaster than a remake. Sorry, more of a remaster than a remake, and not running well, which is fair. Just super fair. We are on the ad break, so teehee. I found a way to complain for 50 minutes. How about that? I'll just take a drink. I was also just curious about. I guess I'll wait until the ad break is over before continuing on my Monster Train chat. I think I also just have harsh opinions, and I'll just disclaimer this. My disclaimer. I'm a bit tired, so my opinions may be extra harsh. Thumbs up. Thumbs up. Well, yeah, that's not good. I wonder what there's a new game that's come out recently, As We Descend. As We Descend. What are the specs on this one? You're fucking funny. Oh, you're funny. Oh. I respect this. They just fucking gave up. I love it. That's a low spec game. Props. Uh, I wanted to check out Monster Train 2 because it is the sort of game that is like very shiny to look at. It looks good. Like, I don't know if anyone's ever seen Monster Train 2. It looks good. It looks like really good. But it's pretty compact. right? It's pretty compact. At any given time, you have the same set of enemies. You only have to load a certain number of enemies in, and you only have to load in 2 out of 10 possible sets of effects, right? So it's no worse than like loading into a League game and spending about a little bit just like loading in 10 champion effects. I have heard of Nintendo's attempt to patent uh, the summoning mechanic, and I've read a breakdown of it. I think that people are maybe jumping the gun a little bit on this, but currently Nintendo is being a bit of a clown anyway and overreaching. It is a series of mechanics, like a very strict step-by-step series. So no one's being stopped from doing anything except Pal World. It's literally just Pal World. It's another dig at Pal World. No surprises there. It's just a dig at Pal World, right? Digimon isn't affected. None of these things are affected. Just a dig. However, it still shouldn't have gone through, in my opinion. I think that's probably where we'll just have to leave it. Kind of weird all around. Weird all around stuff. Since we were on ad break when Faultier said that, Faultier said, "I've personally witnessed good friends having their entire computers crash while playing MGS Delta, which is nuts. That's crazy. It's not good vibes." Meanwhile, here's one for the fans. All right, here's one for the fans. Satisfactory RTX 2070, 16 gigs of RAM. Satisfactory. Before your recent news, you were able to play Warhammer 40k Space Marine 2 just fine. That's an amazing example of recent game that's optimized very well. Yeah, I think some people are doing it well. I think some people are really doing it well, and I think that like they deserve more credit for making big games that work well. For like figuring it out and doing a good job, right? And not just like bloating things to shit. Yeah. I gotta figure out what we're doing. What are we doing tonight? I have no idea. I mentioned this at the start of the stream. I don't know if anyone was here at that time, but I have been sleeping at like 7 p.m. Before that, so I was like 6, 7. So I was ready to fall asleep right then and there before stream even started. I've been waking up at 4 in the morning. Poopfart says, "I played Satisfactory on a GTX 950 and it was really, really laggy, but I still loved it at the time because of the nature of the game. You can play it laggy." That's true. It's you only game on a laptop, so you have no idea how to check your specs. Are you on a Windows machine, Lampenstein? Because if you are on a Windows machine, you can right-click anywhere on your desktop. Well, shift right-click anywhere on your desktop, and you might be able to get like an NVIDIA control panel or display settings. Also, you can click Windows. Are you on like Windows? Are you on Linux? Are you on Mac OS? What operating system are you on? What operating system are you using? You must be on something. My brother in Christ, your laptop is a physical machine that has an operating system on it. What is the operating system? Is it Windows? Is it Linux or Unix? Is it Mac? Okay. How do you check that? If you look at your keyboard, Well, actually, I know the answer. What type of laptop do you have? It's obviously not a Mac laptop, or you would know the answer to this. 99.9% chance you have if you don't know what you're doing, you have a Windows machine. But we can double check this. Do you have the Windows key on your keyboard? Was about to be my thing. Is if you look down at your keyboard, on the bottom left, there should be Control, and then a symbol that looks like a window, and then an Alt. Okay, yes, you're on Windows. Yep. All right, great. So, hit Control Shift Escape. Hold those 3 keys. And if you do, Task Manager should pop up. You should get a window that pops up called Task Manager. All right. I'm gonna do something bad. Here. Okay, here's my Task Manager. I'll make it small here. Here's Task Manager. Don't click anything. Follow along. Click Performance. If you have a GPU, it should say what it is right here. That's it. That's the tutorial. Similarly, I'm just making sure that I don't have anything secret here. Should be fine. But Poopfart is right. Be careful. If you click the CPU thing here, you can tell what CPU you have. Right? I have this, and I have these things: cores, processors. The L1, L2, L3 cache is the like speedy memory I was talking about before, right? And then here's my beautiful memory, my RAM, my gigs of RAM. That's it. Task Manager can dox your IP if you show the wrong tab on stream. True. This is why we don't go to the Ethernet tab. This is accurate, and Poopfart is right. So thank you for reminding me to be careful. That's a lecture for later, I think, Lampenstein, unless you're trolling me, because you are known to troll. I can't tell if you're seriously trolling me or not. I have no idea. Sometimes you do. Troll me. Yeah, it's your digital location. Essentially, everybody who gets on the internet, okay, your knowledge on technology stopped growing in 2005. Your IP is essentially, whoever's right, your digital location. When you sign up for internet with someone, right? You sign up with like Comcast or Verizon or AT&T or fucking there's one that I hate, and it's kind of like southeastern. It's like this. I want to say Signal, but it's not Signal. Spectrum. Yes, thank you. Fart. Fucking Spectrum. All right. You sign up, okay, and you get connected to the internet. And you have a router. These guys, like, they give you a number, right? And they're like, yeah, man, this is your number for your location. This is the number we're assigning you based on where you are. And then everyone in your house has that same number. So essentially you have these two concepts. All right, we're bringing out the drawing board again. We're bringing out the drawing board again. We have an internal IP and an external IP. Okay. And here is your house, right? This is the telecom company. And Poofart, please correct me. I think you are pretty good about this one. I think you probably can fact check me on this. But you have a billion houses, and when you connect to the ISP, right? They're like, okay, here, we're gonna give you a connection, and we're gonna assign you with your router, your special connector thingy. We're gonna assign you I don't know, like what's within the public domains for the US? There are specific ranges, but I'll just make up one. Okay, I'm gonna make up one, and I'm gonna say like just 100.0.0.1. Okay, that's your IP for your house. And when I get access to that, I can go, oh, okay, well, I know exactly where you are because people who have this IP can tell where you are based on location, because the ISP will assign things based on location. All right. Then you go in to your house, right? And you have several boxes, right? Or, you have a phone, and you have, your like PS4, right? Or whatever, your PS5. And you have essentially a beautiful little router right here that sits here. And its job is to say, yes, everyone in your house, you all get an IP for the house. So I know who everyone is, right? I am the router. And this is a really like high level overview. I don't really remember all the details, so I might be getting something a little wrong, but this is just the gist of it. I want to know who everyone is inside of a network, right? Because I am the router, I am managing the network. So I know that this is like something.something.5, this is something.something.4, this is something.something.2, right? That way, when your PS5, which we're going to call something.1, right? When your PS5 sends data out, it goes, hey, I'm trying to play Battlefield 6, and I'm sending out this information, which goes out, the ISP handles it, sends it back, and your router goes, oh yeah, I know who you're for. You want it back for .1. So there you go. It's for you. That's the gist, more or less. More or less. I think if I had to actually properly explain it a bit more, I would do a little research ahead of time, a little bit. But that's the vibe. That's the vibe. And everything is still just cables, but yeah. It's just more complicated cables, and Wi-Fi, and interconnected devices, and wireless stuff, and so on. Yeah, if people know your IP address, it is kind of bad because people can tell your location, or at least your general location, and narrowing it down from somewhere in the US to Salt Lake City, Utah is a problem. But it can do more than Salt Lake City, Utah. It can be like on Washington Street in this suburb in Salt Lake City, Utah. At which point you're kind of well and truly fucked. People can really start to cause you problems. So this is actually why on my scene, when I display all that stuff, I actually have it labeled as dangerous display, because I have to remind myself just blindly showing everyone my screen is going to cause me problems at some point. I think I had to cut a VOD one time. I had to just delete it. because it had information. I actually did screw myself over. It wasn't a dox, but it was like, oops, that information was not supposed to be shown. Oopsie. Oopsie. Anyhow. I think Faultier has the right of it. I think I'm kind of still on this thing about optimization. I think Faultier 100% has the right of it. Is holy smokes, like, how do you expect people to buy your game and play your game if only 25% of people can even like play it? If even 25%, right? That's crazy. I think that's nuts. Definitely. You know what else is nuts? YouTube's new restricted mode. That's a new thing. All right, that's like being silently turned on, to my understanding. I wonder if it's turned on for me. I should go check this out. Let me YouTube restricted mode. I suppose let's just go to YouTube and make sure it's turned off for me. It is off for me. Apparently some people are experiencing it turning on for them. Yeah, I would be less bothered by voluntary kid mode if it didn't automatically turn on, is what some people are reporting, that it's automatically turning on. And as a direct consequence, VTubers on YouTube are just going like, hey, my videos don't show up anymore. You know, like, or like 10% of them show up, right? I have 50 videos and you can see now 8 of them. That's a big problem. So I think that this is probably in response to the child safety stuff and all that censorship stuff that's going around, but it's kind of a stinker. And I suspect as a VTuber that says the word fuck and so on, I am probably in that category, right? I'm probably in that category. I probably shouldn't, but almost out of spite and a little bit out of a matter of principle, I somewhat refuse to like self-censor. It sort of irritates me that I'll like, oh, your video can't be monetized because you said the word fuck in the first 10 seconds. Well, okay, fuck you then. Say as much as I want. I'm not gonna censor the word kill to unalive. I'm sorry, I'm not gonna do it. And that's probably bad for my metrics and it's probably bad for my growth or whatever, but I just think it's so anti-human. It's just so anti-human, you know? Like I am an adult. All of my viewers are or should be adults, right? And even if they're not, and I can't really control who watches my videos, right? I think that having the maturity to discuss sensitive and mature topics without having to have a euphemism for everything is like, it's important, right? It's almost analogous to like abstinence only education. Oh, if we don't talk about it, it's not there. Well, I'm sorry, like people are dying. People are being killed. Like that's just kind of what it is. Right? Like bad things are happening. And I'm not going to pretend like they're not happening or go, "Oh no, this guy got unalived." Like it's insensitive. I think it's insensitive to the person that what I'm talking about, honestly. Personally, I would be kind of mad if if I were still alive in that situation, right? If someone killed me and some fucking YouTuber is like, "Oh yeah, man, that guy got unalived," I would haunt him. I would come back from the grave and haunt him and be like, "Don't you fucking don't you do that? Don't you do that?" There's a school shooting every day. It's kind of sad to say, but like I'm just a little. I think everyone's a little exhausted by all that, you know, just happening all the time. But yeah, there was one in Colorado yesterday, right? Another one today. I don't know. I guess we'll leave it there because I think if we get any further on that, it'll turn into a politics discussion about the obvious political topic that I'm avoiding. But I think as far as YouTube goes, I get that they want to be advertiser friendly, right? I understand that. I understand that's where all the money is, and therefore, I have this incredible comic by Port Sherry, and I would love to share it with you guys. I'm gonna go fetch it right now because I think it's iconic. All right. Here is the comic by Port Sherry. Please click on that link to give the guy a view, okay? Deserves this much when I'm showing what he has done. Vulture open browser. All right, this is the Port Sherry comic. I was there 3,000 years ago, 2007, working at a newspaper's website. I think we need to step in and do some moderation in the comment sections. There are fights breaking out daily, mostly about politics. This is the guy's supervisor. No, that's good. The more they fight, the more time they spend on the site, and the more money we get from ads. Yeah. This was made last week, by the way. Last week. Vulture closed browser. Okay. Please, by the way, please do actually go click that link if you can, and give the guy a view. All right. Poor Sherry comics are really funny. I'm a big fan, and I think that I'm not always good about it. Okay, but I try. Anytime that I share someone else's stuff or talk about someone else's stuff, I do want to make sure that like they get a little credit. You know, they get a little help from me because I don't really want to be someone who just kind of like takes but doesn't give, if that makes sense. You know? Yeah. So that's, I mean, I feel like linking to what I just showed you guys is the least I can do. Okay, having said that, the way that ads and ad revenue has dictated the way that the internet has to shape itself is, lacking other words, cringe. I think it's cringe. I think it's extremely cringe. And I would like very much if it was less cringe. But since I can't really fix that myself, I will just kind of have to ignore it and do my best. And use words like kill. And suffer the YouTube blowback, I guess, right? Like what else can I do? I don't really know what else I can do. I have once or twice, I think, censored like a YouTube short with the word kill in it, right? Or fuck or something. But I I think it's maybe one thing to censor it post fact, and I think that it's another to like change my vocabulary entirely. I don't really want to do that. I think that's a little disingenuous. And I think it has effects that reach beyond my time as an entertainer and a person that sits here in front of you and talks about random things. You know what they say, ignoring a problem makes it go away. Oh, I wish that were true, but it is not the case. It is not the case. Well, yeah. I don't really know what I'm doing with my YouTube, honestly. But I have videos set up until October. So it's a thing that exists. I think similarly I have I guess this is going to become a political chat. All right, I think I'm breaking my rule. This is going to become a political chat very briefly. Very, very briefly, all right? Remember the rule, no politics? It's do not talk about anything that I do not bring up. Okay? I do not want it happening. Okay? Like we're going to stay on topic. And the rules apply to you and they do not apply to me because I am the streamer and you are the chat. All right? So stay in your lane. If I have to get one guide, I'll ban you temporarily. All right. And all of that is kind of why I don't really do politics much. Is because it's very easy to get one guide and have weird things get brought up, and then you're just kind of in a hole. And I think a lot of people come to VTubing and streaming and online communities only talk about what I'm already talking about. Yes, just that's it. That's it. And try to keep your biases out of it. We're gonna be very precise. Okay, we're gonna be very, very precise. Mostly I'm going to talk, right? And if I don't want to respond to something you say in the chat, I'm just going to ignore it. And if I don't like it very much, I'll just delete it. To be blunt, right? This is kind of a high pressure environment, and the reason for that is because I think a lot of people come to the internet for escapism, which I totally understand. I also have come to the internet for escapism many a time. I think escapism and getting a breather from the craziness of life is pretty important. At the same time, though, I think that escapism leads to an unwillingness to confront topics that are maybe less than comfortable and to self-moderate. And I have the opinion that when you don't get the practice in thinking about these things critically, right, and having active internal debate about what is and is not acceptable behavior in your community, right? What is something that you're willing to tolerate and what is something you're not willing to tolerate? The gray area becomes vague. And in my opinion, starts to disappear, and you only have things that are okay and things that are not okay, and you start to lose nuance, right? I have a few friends from across the political spectrum, and I am happy to keep those friends, right? I actually prefer it because I get a variety of viewpoints, right? But there are some people that I would simply not wish to talk to, and I don't tolerate them in my life. Like the end, right? And I think part of that comes from like I have the great fortune of some of these people who are not on like the same part of the aisle that I'm on, right? Being willing to talk to me. I have that great fortune, I think, because I am willing to like not demonize them for their upbringing, right? Or their, like, stance, okay? Because their stance isn't gay people should be locked up in a camp and die. Like, that's not anybody that I know's stance, thank God. Right? Thank God. And so I'm able to have a structured conversation about differences in opinion and examine my own beliefs, right? And learn from people who know more than I do in some topics, who have done more reading, who can explain the difference to me between, like, third wave and fourth wave feminism, for example, right? Or have had experiences that I don't have, right? Because of their upbringing, their family, what they've been told. Now, I'm not always the most patient. I'll own up to that, right? Sometimes I think about conversations I've had with some people and go, oh my God, dude, you're like, mentally I go like, oh my God, you're kind of like, you're in the swamp, you don't realize it, right? But that is a fundamentally different thing than digging so deep into escapism that you're willing to allow people in your community who are who don't have, like, a difference in opinion, right? Like, in terms of, oh, how much should the government involve itself in certain things, right? Do you believe in small government or big government, right? That's something that I can have a debate about. I can have a discussion about that, right? And 10 years ago, I could have a discussion about that because the person I was talking to, they aren't a, like, career politician who's scamming me, right? This is about their beliefs and my beliefs, and we can discuss it and come to a conclusion, right? About what we think. That's fine, right? I think healthy debate is a cornerstone of civilized society, and it helps us get closer to the truth. Gay people should be alive isn't really a point I wish to debate, right? And I think that's where it starts to kind of come apart, right? Is that there are people in the spaces that I'm part of, the VTubing space, the TTRPG space, the card games space, right? The various spaces that I'm part of, that have some pretty, I would say, abhorrent views, right? And there's really not a lot I can do about it other than be like, Some people can't, Lemonstein says, I think a big problem is that people nowadays can't tell the difference between a debate and an argument. I think definitely that's some part of it. I think people also don't follow, like, they don't follow debate rules, right? People are not practiced debaters that, like, follow logical fallacies and, you know, ad hominems are bad and whatever, right? Like, that's not how it is. And I'm just a little guy, right? I'm a little guy on the internet. So the amount that I can push back is limited. But I feel like there is I touched on this earlier, because the nuance and the gray area goes away, you end up with people who are like, just extreme on either side, right? And I'm not doing the both sides, okay? I'm not doing that. But it is true that I have several friends who have told me in confidence, and I won't name names, right? But this is just an experience that I've had. They've told me that essentially, like, they more or less agree with my positions, but they don't want to call themselves leftists because people on the left have been, like, fucking shitty to them. And similarly, some people I think on the left are so virtue signally, right? And like my position is the moral and right one, that they haven't done the introspection. They haven't done the inspection of their ideas to determine, is this a reasonable idea? Is this a good idea? The thing that I'm declaring moral virtue and truth, is that correct? Right. For example, I think that we can talk about and debate affirmative action and the degree to which affirmative action should or should not exist. I think that is a point of debate. We can talk about it, right? We can discuss it. And I can definitely see arguments from both sides. 100%, right? That's fundamentally a different exchange than affirmative action should exist, and if you disagree, you're a racist. That's a ridiculous take. And it's also a fundamentally different idea than affirmative action is like, how do I put this? I'm actually not going to talk about affirmative action. I'll say so-and-so category of people have it too easy and, you know, should be punished or whatever. Like, you know, you get the gist. And I think it kind of comes from a startling lack of empathy and a lack of self-inspection. Which is, I think, is always my point. I think I always go back to this idea that I think people are not willing to be empathetic. Right? They're not willing to engage people from a place of, like, understanding and a willingness to, like, care about someone else. You know? So, okay, I'm gonna get really political for a little bit, right? Really political for a little bit. I think it's no secret that I am pretty progressive and left-leaning. That's not a surprise to anyone, I would imagine, right? I don't actually... Barriers have been drawn between people nowadays despite our means of communication being greater than ever. Absolutely true. Absolutely true. And so I don't especially make, like, a big secret of my political leaning. I'm pretty obvious about it, I think. I would say I mention it once in a while because it comes up. And having that position, I have the following opinions. 1, a large part of the failing of the political left in the US is purity politics, which is what I essentially consider to be, if you don't pass all 34 of these litmus tests on whether or not you're a good person, I won't vote for you. It's all or nothing, right? I have like 34 deal breakers, 34 lines in the sand, 34 hills to die on, right? And you have to pass every single one of them, or you're a shitbag. And I won't vote for you. I think this is the key part, is and the I won't vote for you, right? There are certainly politicians that I believe are not my favorite, right? But they're headed in the right direction. And I think politics is a matter of pointing the bus in the right direction. You want to vote for someone who most closely aligns with your you're saying, I'd say the largest failing of the U.S. left is that we're disorganized. Purity politics is just a manifestation of it. That's fair. I would have to maybe chew on that for a little bit and think about it. I'll have to think about that one. But I'm just going to kind of keep going on my topic for a second here. I think there are certainly politicians I don't agree with, but you kind of want to get behind someone who drives the bus in the same direction that you're kind of wanting to go. And if you're totally in disagreement, then get active, get organized, and do something about it yourself, right? Or push for a candidate who does do something about it themselves, which is a big reason I believe in ranked choice voting, right? I really believe that ranked choice voting is extremely important because it means that if Faultier and I are both on the same political ballot, right? And you really agree with Faultier on like this is my stream, so I'm gonna say I'm gonna win. I'm the incumbent, right? You really agree with Faultier on like more of Faultier's policies, right? But you also agree with me, and there's this third guy, Dark Glitch, okay? And Dark Glitch is just a scumbag, the worst person you've ever seen in your life, alright? You don't want Dark Glitch to win. Ranked choice voting means you aren't wasting your votes voting for Faultier first, and then me, right? And then I eventually win because, it's my stream, so I'm gonna win. As opposed to non-ranked choice voting, where you might get a weird split of like 30 to Faultier, 30 to me, 40% to Dark Glitch, and then Dark Glitch wins, and nobody, like, not nobody, but 60% of people are not happy at that point, right? And it signals to me, right? It signals to me, oh, geez, people really believe in these policies that Faultier had. I better think about that because I'd like to get reelected. I'd like to keep my job, so I should think about it. So I think ranked choice voting is important in that regard. On the opposite side, I think that a lot of people in the current exacerbated climate of the political far right are running on us versus them politics, right? And it's not really important so much what we stand for, but who we stand against. So, it's a tough situation all around. And of course, there's more nuance to it than that, but I think we'll probably pull that closed here. It's just when you end up in a situation like that, right? You can't have like organization behind a candidate that is like mostly good, right? Or mostly headed in the right direction. And like an unwillingness to vote in this political climate gets you into situations where scumbag supreme gets it, But it also gets you into situations where, like, if you're unwilling to compromise for even a second, okay, you're essentially saying anybody who's not like me is bad, which is a ridiculous thing to say. It's a ridiculous thing to say. I think that, like, is it the case that every single one of your 34 policies is like perfectly true and just and valid and like unassailable? I find that unlikely. It's possible that most of them are, right? In fact, I would say it's probable that most of them are. But how much self-inspection did you do? And in that regard, this self-inspection, I guess. Actually, I'm going to wind that back. I think the standards that we hold politicians to can't be the same standards that we hold a private individual to. I, as a private individual, right, have a different opinion than I would as a politician, because as a politician, I am a public figure and a representative, right? So my personal private opinion will invariably be different because I have a responsibility. At the same time, that responsibility to a large number of constituents, right, means that I can't always pick the right answer. Or I won't always pick the right answer, right? Or that it's more complicated than I might be able to let on to a private citizen, or whatever, But I think it does often come down to empathy, and something that I feel is missing in a lot of people maybe saying missing a lot of people is wrong, but I think something that I have observed to be missing in some aspects with a few people is just this lack of self-inspection, no matter where you fall on the line, right? Like why is it that your position is right or wrong? Have you inspected it? Have you thought about it? Sometimes, my dear, like the misogyny comes from inside the house, right? Like, I have met more than a few queer women who are inadvertently misogynistic, right? Because it's internalized, right? And unless you unpack that and think about it, it's going to continue to be a part of your brain, right? The same way that you get people that just like vote against their interests, right? And I could unpack that for hours. I could go through that one for hours. It's just messy. It's messy, and I think people could afford to inspect their own beliefs maybe a little more. Right. But the reason why this all kind of comes together is this lack of inspection, this like absolutism is, I guess, what I'll call it, right? Is like black and white view of things. It's either good or bad, right? It leads to, you'd have a lot to ask for a candidate. The problem is most politicians I've met or seen are vile or push our rules for thee but not for me mentality. Yeah, I can't speak for every politician, right? But I have seen some politicians like that as well, right? Current politicians. And they sometimes vary on when they do rules for thee and not for me, right? They sometimes vary on which of those they think are important to follow and which of them are not to follow, right? And is it, I'm going to ignore it as the politician, or I'm going to ignore it as like the group? But again, this lack of like nuance and making everything black and white means that you don't really have a good sense of when you can and can't confront something. Like if we have a literal Nazi in the VTuber sphere, right? Is that as bad as a like shitty friend, right? And if you have no sense of nuance, it might as well be. Everything is 100. Everything is dialed up to 11. It's either 0 or 10. It's either all bad or all good. Which is like not a reasonable way to look at things in your life, you know? It doesn't really make sense to just pump up everything to 11, because that means you can never confront anyone on any disagreement ever, right? You can never talk to someone. I can never be like, hey man, hey Fultz here, like I just want to talk to you real quick. Like I didn't like this thing that you did, at least, when we're streaming together, can we like cool it on this, right? Just making up an example. Or actually, here's a really easy one. Not about fault here, by the way. Just to be clear, this is not about fault here. Here's one. I don't like it when people use the R word to refer to mentally people who are less mentally abled. I don't know what the politically correct word for that is. People who are differently abled, I guess, is the right way to say it. I don't like that term. I'm not a fan, and so I more or less don't use it. And I ask people not to use it around me. Right? Yeah, neurodivergent is certainly one way to refer to it. But I think neurodivergent has a lot of different things under its banner, right? I would call a depressed person, a person with depression, or a person with ADHD or a person with anxiety and anxiety disorder, I would call those people also neurodivergent, right? I think the R phrase refers to a very like a smaller subset of that. And I wouldn't call someone with like bipolar disorder, right? That I don't think that is in that category, but I think that a person with bipolar disorder is absolutely neurodivergent, right? But anyway, we're getting into semantics. That's not the point. The point is, I'm not a fan of that term. Okay, I don't really like it, and I've had to once or twice be like, "Hey guys, can we not use that word? I don't like it." You know, and like that's okay. You know, that's not the end of the world. Is I can say that, and then my buddy will be like, yeah, okay, right? And then we're done. Like it's over, right? I didn't have to crucify them on the stake for it, you know? And because they're a good dude and they're my friend, they're gonna be like, yeah, okay, it makes Glitch uncomfortable. I will not do it, you know? Now they could ask me why, and I would be like, yeah, because it's kind of like offensive. And it's kind of like a slur, and people are not a fan, and I'm not a fan, and they'd be like, okay, cool, right? That's like the conversation more or less done. If everything is a 10 to you in terms of intensity, right? Like using harsh language like that, sometimes because you don't know any better, right? Or like it's just how you talk, because it's the way the people around you talk. How is that the same level of intensity as like being, I don't know, I'm gonna make up something like a child molester, right? Like they're not the same whatsoever. They're not even close to the same thing. But again, if all you have is like righteous fury and indignation, and you're more interested in punitive and retributive justice than like empathy and restorative justice and kindness, right? You can't tell. You can't tell what's okay and what's not okay, and what you can have a conversation with someone about and what you cannot have a conversation with someone about, and at what point someone is like, oh yeah, man, again, I'm going to use Falter as an example, but dude, this is not about you. I promise. I just, I love you. You're awesome. You're just kind of a person that I like know. And I know that you're like cool, so I can use your name. Again, this is not something that Falter has done, by the way. Right. This is a great guy. You guys should love Falter. I think he's great. But like, if Falter, yeah, always the example. If Falter has like some views that I don't agree with, right? All of this in the Google. Oh my god, I'm gonna get into the Google Docky. Google Docky. Oh, the Google Docky. If Falter has some view on, I'm struggling to come up with a view, because I don't want to assign something. I'll come up with someone else, okay? Some imaginary person. No, please don't put anything in about Falter and Gulaki. Falter's a great guy. Okay, I'm gonna come up with an imaginary person A, and I can't think of anyone. No, I don't want to use it. I don't want to use a real person. In fact, I need to get out of the habit of using people. I do that, I think, too much. I think that's one of my faults, is I need to just come up with imaginary people instead. I think I tend to use specific people because it's clear to me, like, this is not really something that Faltier would ever say, but by using Faltier as an example, no one else thinks it's vague posting about them, right? That's kind of why I do it. But at the same time, like, I sometimes feel bad because I'll use people like, I'll use Zentrea as an example and be like, oh yeah, so-and-so thing, right? And I like look back on it now and I'm like, that was mean. I was like, that was mean of me. I shouldn't have done that. It was like really mean. And if I ever have to like talk to her, I'm gonna have to be like, first things first, I'm gonna have to be like, hey, before we do anything, I gotta come clean. I was a bitch, you know? Like, I'm sorry. I gotta tell you something. Um, so bad habits. Even I have bad habits. But the point that I was gonna make is like there are people who have opinions I don't agree with, right? About like queer labels or like egg culture, for example, right? And maybe I don't have to confront them on it, or like maybe it's just like not a fucking problem for me to deal with right now, or I just don't want to deal with it, or like it's fine, you know, like I don't agree with you. I think you're wrong, but like, do I want to have that conversation? Eh, right? Not everything needs to be like a conversation. So yeah, having some sense of nuance is pretty important, right? Because if one of my friends tomorrow came out and said something like really vile, I would have to be like, either, hey dude, where's that coming from? Like, we gotta talk. That's like not cool of you to say, right? Similarly, like, I don't like using the word cancer as a pejorative. I don't like it. In fact, I'm really against it, and I wish that it wasn't a thing. And I, in fact, have an alternate word we can always just use. We can use the word toxic instead. It serves the exact same function. Just use the word toxic instead of cancer. All right, it'll be fine. You know, the point is in fact basically the same, right? Or expand your vocabulary and use a word like malignant or something. I don't know, just come up with something else, right? But like that's a I don't know, that's a conversation you can have, you know. Whereas if I'm not close to that person, I'll just be like, okay, I guess I'm done talking to you now because you're a little weirdo, and I think that's kind of like the trouble is there are people in the VTubing scene right now, and this is the vague post of all time, right? But there are people in the VTubing scene right now who have said things that I listen to it and I'm like, you're not being ironic. You like genuinely believe this shit. And I want like nothing to do with you, which is sad. Like it won't ever matter, right? Like it's never gonna happen. But I have to just kind of keep that in mind a little bit, right? Is that not only do people like that exist, they have many fans who also exist and would love to ruin my life. They would love to ruin my life. And I would like love to not have my life ruined. And that's where the confrontation kind of gets tough, right? Um I watched an interview from someone talking about a internet personality. I'm gonna be real vague right now, okay? And essentially, this person more or less said that the reason that no one has brought up any of this information about the influencer is because they're trying to live their lives, and the influencer has like tens of thousands of people, 10,000 people who are diehard fans. If even 0.1% of those people are like real aggro about it, it can make their life really miserable. Fear of retribution from a crowd is like super valid. And I agree. It's super valid. I think that I'm so conscious of that based on my own experiences in like in fandom culture, in the way that I've seen people be treated, or in the way that I've seen myself be treated, and being very conscious of like the influence that a larger personality can have, and realizing that I think even if someone is saying some stuff ironically, right? Or they know they're just hamming it up and doing it for the act, there can be some serious downstream consequences for people who don't realize it's an act. The wink wink nudge nudge can be a little troubling. And I don't really know what to like say to that sometimes, because the defense is really easy. It's like, oh, I was just kidding. Right? I was being ironic. You don't get it. You don't get the joke. And it's like, I don't get the joke. You think that trans people shouldn't exist. So do I not? What's the joke? What's the joke? I don't really know what the joke is. You know, you don't like women. Weird. Like, ma'am, you don't like women. And weird, like, you also don't like trans women. You, like, think that they're not really women. But also you don't like women. But also, like, it's like, where is the line exactly with, like, your weird takes? And to be blunt, I wish that such a person did not exist in our community. Because it's supposed to be inclusive. And in the great words of Kason, it's about respect. Right? Where is the respect? I try to be respectful. I try to have respect for other people. And I think that's where my line kind of stops, right? Is I try to see things from a place of empathy and understanding and respect for not just other people, but also for myself. Both of those are important. It kind of matters. And I think that's kind of what it always boils down to for me is a matter of empathy. Like, are we being empathetic to me, to other people, to just the vibes of empathy? And although I am not in anyone else's brain, okay, I will say, and perhaps someone will correct me and tell me to fuck off, which is fair. I will say that this attitude of empathy and a willingness to try to listen and understand and inspect my own biases is part of the reason why people why people across the aisle are sometimes willing to talk to me, or people not on my side of the aisle. It's actually really funny. I had this great conversation with my friend, and we were talking about our view on a topic, and it was really funny because the response was he and I basically arrived at the same conclusion about a topic, and he said, yeah, and that's maybe like less left. I'm like, oh, that's crazy, because it actually made me more left. It made me more progressive. When I like concluded this, I became more progressive and more like aggressively left. Which we had a laugh about, right? But like, we can discuss these topics because we have a mutual respect for each other, right? And we are willing to engage with each other meaningfully and with empathy. And I think that's the thing that really matters, right? I think there are a lot of people who are, how do I put this? There are a lot of streamers that I watch and have watched who have some pretty aggressive attitudes. Hydrate. That's a great idea. I should hydrate. Thank you, Lemon. We should all hydrate. A lot of streamers I've seen that have a bold and brash personality. They can be loud. They can be crass. They can be all sorts of things, right? But the reason I still watch them is because I know, listening to them talk, listening to the way that they act, that they're not unkind, right? I think kindness is maybe not the same thing as niceness, maybe. There's like a subtle difference in my brain. But these are people I continue to watch because I go, oh yeah, like this person, although they can be brash, right, and crude, they care about other people. So even if they may seem harsh, right, they are nice. And so I can even watch them. I go, yeah, this is a good person. I have good feelings about this person. Whereas I have seen a few streamers who are like, they talk nice, right? They talk ironically and they're haha funny and they have a good voice and they're easy to listen to, but the shit they say, oh man, they're crazy, right? Like, they just describe all sorts of like deeply unempathetic things. And I won't give any examples because I don't want to give any specific examples, but you can just imagine with your brain what a deeply unempathetic person might say about animals, about their fellow man, about other streamers that they're friends with, right? It's so I don't watch them, right? And I mentally kind of clock off like, don't want to engage with this person. They fall into this category of like, I want nothing to do with this person, which is like a significantly worse category to be in than you're like a boring streamer, right? Like I know a few streamers, God bless them, that are like, they're boring as fuck. And I think it's just because they like they're not used to it yet, right? Or they don't really have any, they're like not comfortable talking, or they have one joke. And they default to the same one joke like 8 times in a row, and I was like, okay, sorry, I'm like not interested anymore. But you know, the great thing about being boring, right, is that you can become unboring by like just trying more and keeping at it and inspecting, right? Shitty people with followings tend to echo chamber themselves into further being shitty. So it's like not great. Yeah. And I want to like disclaimer here. There really isn't anything wrong with being boring, because I was a boring streamer. In fact, sometimes I still am a boring streamer, to be like totally blunt, right? Not everyone streams to be entertaining. There was a point in my time in my life that I streamed just for the confidence of speaking out loud, right? And forcing myself to talk. And forcing myself to use my words and build speaking confidence. Fine, right? There are some people who stream just for the co-working aspect. I would consider some co-working streams really boring. That's okay. Like that is not like the end-all be-all bad thing, you know? So anyone who's like listening and going, oh my god, Glitch thinks that boring streamers are the worst, like, that's not really what I mean. It's not really what I mean. But I have a bad habit of over-talking and saying way too much, and sometimes just keeping at it and bashing the point and beating a dead horse. Speaking of dead horses, Haru Urara is dead. I don't play the horse game, but or went out for that, right? Yeah. All right, I think that's it. That's all I got on this topic. I think we're gonna close the political topic. You guys all behaved. So you're saying you'd be an awful streamer. You'd get so in the zone of playing games that you focus on it. Being VNs is like an exception, you think, and engaging with a narrative and hearing and reading other people's live analysis is engaging. It's not for everyone, right? It really depends on what you want out of it. Some people, they just want the, like, how do I put this? Sometimes I will stream in Discord to no one, art, so that I can keep myself accountable and do it, right? Some people need it for the co-working. Whatever, do whatever works for you, and if you don't want to do it, you don't have to do it either. All right. But yes, I think I'm gonna close this politics topic, right? More or less for now. You guys all behaved, and I'm proud of you. I didn't have to tell anyone to shut the fuck up. All right. No one was a little asshole. I appreciate that. I do. I want you guys to know I really do appreciate that. I appreciate you guys being like good sports about the whole thing and engaging with me a little bit, and no one was like a freak about it. You know, you guys were mature during the mature topic time, and I'm happy about that. I am, because I try to be sincere. I really, I really value my own sincerity towards things. I want to be a sincere person. Not that a little sarcasm here and there can't be fun, but that's the kind of person that I wish to be. So that's what I got. That's what I got. That's what I got. Why the fuck are so many of you here? What's happening right now? Is this what it takes? I have to talk about politics and everyone shows up? What's happening? Yeah, if you have a question, shoot your question. I'm glancing through Steam to see what I might play. Oh god, unmute. Please, I don't want to hear my own voice. It's so rough and scratchy right now. Oh, it's so rough and scratchy right now. Just here since you can't sleep. Fair enough. I'm glancing through my my games. I did buy and install Clear Obscure Expedition 33, but no, I did not figure out what view the narrator from We Know the Devil was using. I didn't even think about it. I never thought about it. After I finished the game, I just stopped thinking about it. Yeah, sure. Give me an answer. I have a guess, but yeah, give me the answer while I glance through my Steam list of games that I have installed. I can play Neon White. They're collective sort of thoughts all mixed together. Yeah, mixed third person. That makes sense. I feel like that's kind of the typical, like, I guess it's not omniscient third person, but it's like it's one of the typical viewpoints for those kinds of things. You accidentally published the Google Docie on Faultier on 4chan. I hope all that's in that Google Docie is that Faultier is an amazing and nice person. If there's anything else, I'm banning you. I'm sending you to the Shadow Realm. We should finish Asterigos, Curse of the Stars. Did I ever play that game on stream? I don't think I did. Did I ever finish this game? I don't think I ever played this game on stream. We have a lot of games to play. So many games to play. There's a reason you had to start all over again in the VTubing sphere. Oh, oof. Oh man. Okay. So, things on the list. Sonic Frontiers DLC. I keep saying I'll do it. We'll do it. Colony Ship. Oh my god, this is a long game. Divinity Original Sin 2. Oh my god, that's an even longer game. And there's been one more. There's one more. Dreams and Deadlines. Dreams and Deadlines. I think the next long day we'll get will play Dreams and Deadlines, honestly. That's another like 6-hour game. So I might play it on Sunday, or maybe like next Tuesday or Thursday. You can't leave the prison island in DOS 2. Are you playing on Tactician or are you playing on normal? I could play Estrella. How long does an Estrella run take? Ain't too long. Tactician, but that's not the problem. That sounds like it is the problem. Tactician's hard. I should also finish Neon White. I think that's probably... there's so many games to beat. I guess that's why we have a feedback section. But I think the biggest thing, really, that I'm experiencing right now... You keep restarting to make a new character. Okay. I think the biggest problem that I keep having, honestly, is... I am, like, going to sleep at 7 p.m. and I'm waking up at 4 in the morning. So... I think that's one big reason that my streams have been a little flaky, is like I have been sleeping at weird hours. And I should probably, honestly, go to sleep now. It is midnight. So here's what I'm gonna do. I am going to send you guys off. And I will say thank you guys for being cool and normal. If you guys enjoyed that, right, hanging out with me, definitely consider following. It would be super cool of you, right? It helps me out. Thumbs up. That's all I got. Yeah, I'm gonna get some rest, and we're gonna send you guys into somebody. But I'm gonna do my little outro first. Alrighty, that will be it for me tonight. I hope you have a good rest of your morning, day, evening, night, whatever you're up to, whatever you're doing. I hope you have a good one, and I will see you next time. We're going to raid into Meika, who is having her 24-hour birthday marathon thing. So go be nice. We're gonna do your choice of jamming emote and birthday emote if you have one, and then type happy birthday Meika. All right, this is the raid message today. Go be nice to Meika. All right, thank you everyone. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. Drink plenty of water. Get plenty of rest. And I will see you next time. Be good to yourselves. And also be good to each other. Bye-bye.